Hi, welcome to another installment of our class in Mesilat Yesharim, the path of the just. And we are in the middle of chapter 11, discussing the aspects, the multiple aspects of the moral virtue of cleanliness. Okay? Can I be out in character and be normal now? Because I'm not feeling it. Okay, so here we go. We talked about the two major categories or aspects where we should remove our desires for sin. Right? We discussed whether it's better to have the desire and control it and or get rid of the sin altogether. Ramchal's position is that there are some things that we should remove the sin altogether, the desire to sin. One was gezel. What is gezel? Does anybody know what gezel means? Thievery, right. Different ways of what is considered theft, of time, of opinion, of someone's mind. When you're lying to him in a particular way, you are essentially stealing from him. We talked all about these things. Then we spent a whole day talking about someone's grandmother, right? That we should remove the desire for erva, for inappropriate sexual relations. That we should not have a desire at all for another person's woman. If you want to come back and tell me what, Rabbi, what if the woman doesn't belong to anybody? How you doing? It's okay. I saw this great line that said, women are not here for men's entertainment. Are not here for men's entertainment. And there is this notion that, we are, when you go out to Ben Yehuda, just sitting and watching the people walk by, that's a form of entertainment. And you are enjoying things that are not yours. But then you say, no, she really wants it. Otherwise, why is she parading back and forth with a flag? I have to give an example that isn't realistic. Otherwise, you'll have an idea in your mind. And I want to stay away from that.
I have no ideas.
So that's what we spoke about yesterday. I want to move. Now, this is the first time we've done this. I am going to skip a few pages. Not because you can't handle the truth, but because, right? Everybody get the reference? Good? Because the truth is too complicated to explain at this stage of where we are. Because the Ramchal provides us other examples of sins that we should remove completely the desire to sin. So I will tell it to you just in general. So he talks about cursing, right? And that was our discussion that you didn't understand. Why do we have to get rid of cursing? Why? There's nothing wrong with it. It makes me feel good. Which I said, you've got lots of work to do. The other one that he talks about, which I think is a given, we don't really need to spend the whole day on this, is Isurei Ma'achalot, eating forbidden foods. Right? We all in our yeshiva understand that there are certain foods that we can eat, and there are certain foods that we are prohibited from eating. Like pork. Can't have bacon for breakfast, or lunch, or dinner, or snack. You don't have to write that down. You should know that. Okay, good. That worries me. No bacon today. Okay.
You said you have to get rid of that desire?
Yes. That's not the Rambam. It's not the Rambam. Correct? Good. I'm glad you're holding. Very good. That's what I want to see. So you keep the ideas in your mind. So you're learning what is called shitas. There are different ways of understanding Jewish text. The Rambam has his way. The Ramchal here has a different way. Okay? Yes?
I would write, don't eat bacon on the ceiling above my bed today. I really struggle, going to a nice barbecue rib joint, that's a huge problem.
In Israel?
Well, not that that's literally a problem here, but the wanting of that is a problem for me. So things that are like a given like that.
See, you can put it in front of me and that wouldn't bother me. Doesn't do anything to me.
Doesn't do anything to me anymore. It did for 2 years when I first gave up.
Good. So from here you hear that keep going and it'll go away.
Still smells good when I smell it. But
Yeah, okay. Lots of things smell good. So does nail polish.
I don't go through with
right? So that doesn't mean I want to put that on my food. I'm just giving an example. Listen, if I can control my desire to pistachio ice cream, you can control your desire to eating pork ribs. But you can have other types of, you can have beef ribs or lamb ribs.
Really?
Oh, now it's like, now everybody's getting hungry. So I think everybody should put in $100 and we will buy a real sheep and have its ribs. How many ribs are in a sheep?
8.
I think if we
Eight?
each put $100, we should get like.
Is it enough for all of us?
One
No.
sheep's enough for all.
If we each put
No, but we want the ribs. We don't care about the rest. Sam, what about how many ribs does a sheep have?
Probably about 24.
All right, someone.
24 ribs?
Is anyone a vegetarian here?
12 on each side?
Because if there was a vegetarian here, they'd be pretty upset right now.
Wait, why?
It's okay, Jesse.
This whole conversation, like, oh, we just want the rib meat.
They might only be vegetarian for health reasons, though, not humanitarian reasons.
Most vegetarians are for both.
Huh?
A lot of vegetarians are for both.
My wife is vegetarian, but she's not.
For humanitarian purposes.
She's not. Just for health. She just can't eat meat.
I knew a girl who's never eaten it. She just never liked it as a small kid.
Yeah.
Her parents never pushed on her, so she's
Right.
never tried.
Yeah.
Never eaten fish.
Hey, now you see, Aaron, listen to this. Do you see what happened here?
That's not true.
The evil inclination took a conversation, and now instead of learning Torah, we're talking about how many ribs. I'm guilty. How many ribs does a sheep have, and with this, and now we're going to talk about that and talk about that. That's what the Yetzer does, and the Ramchal warns us about it. That you have to pay attention. You have to stay on track. Okay, I'm telling you this because you need to remind me. Okay, because you're the new kid, right? The other guys you see, they're with me. They'll go with me wherever we go on the roller coaster. But
There's hope for you.
you have an honest face. Save us, save us.
We're corrupted already.
Okay, here we go. So he talks about forbidden foods. And then he has a category that is very, very important because we mess this up all the time, which is social sins. Sins that we have because we live among other people. Okay? So he talks about the following. I'm going to give you all of them, and then we'll talk a little bit about each one. הונאת דברים, הלבנת פנים, הכשרת עיוור, ביצע, רכילות, שנאה ונקימה, שבועות והשקר, חילול השם. Okay, I'll give it to you. Let me explain before you argue with me.
I'm not doing it in English.
I will give it to you in English right now. Here it starts. Ready? Yeah. On your marks? I'm going to do it like, do you remember there were Warner Brothers? They had these two animals that would do like the whole countries and real quick.
Speedy Gonzalez.
Not Speedy Gonzalez. You don't know your Warner
Oh,
Brothers.
Animaniacs.
Animaniacs. They would do it like this. So that's what I'm going to do in English. Ready? Hona'at dvarim really is, it's a very good, very difficult term for me to come up with, means that you are presenting things not the way they are. It's a form of lying.
It's a false presentation.
Yeah. Advertising. Right? Second, embarrassing people publicly. Third, giving bad advice to people. Literally, it means hakshalat iver be'etza, causing a blind person to stumble by giving him the wrong advice. What does that mean, blind person? It means that when a person let's say I want to buy a car, and everybody who knows me knows I know nothing about cars. Nothing. I know where the glove compartment is. Nothing, I don't really understand. I know how to drive. I drive, Baruch Hashem, well, but something goes wrong. I don't know. It's gone. You fill up with gas? Huh? What? So if I went to buy a car, and you're an expert in a car, and I say to you, listen, I want to buy a car. And you say, listen, get a Volkswagen Bug, da 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 da. I am considered a blind person with regard to a car. And by you giving me a bad advice, you caused me to stumble. That's what he means. That we have to be very careful when we give advice to our friends, because they are, in a sense, blind to the issue that they're seeking advice. And when we give him an answer, we have to give him an answer that fits them, not what fits us. So we have to be very, very careful with that. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 4, gossip. Gossip is a big one, right? 3rd, hatred and seeking revenge. Oh yeah? You cut me in line, I won't leave you any cold water. You didn't do the dishes, you didn't sweep my room, like we agreed it was your week to sweep. Forget it. I'm not sweeping next week. Boom. Right? That is sticking it to the person. You're not allowed to do that. Yes, but what if he deserves it?
So the other day we were talking about stealing time, and I was out running an errand. This lady cuts in line in front of me, and it was at a proper grocery store. It wasn't like at the Shuk where people throw their hands out. It was a proper line. I'm in line. She jumps in, gives the lady her tea and a 20 shekel bill, and the cash register she just does it. She looks at me for like a second, and I'm shocked. And the lady looks at me like she knew she did wrong, waiting for a response. And I'm thinking I would yell at her, but I don't even speak Hebrew. It wouldn't matter to her, and culturally maybe this is okay. And I was mad. So I
I don't know if there
forgave
is
her.
such thing
But
as
was
a
that
proper line.
unjust?
Yeah.
Should I have
Flying
at least
color.
waved the finger? At what point is it?
It
not
depends
revenge?
on what finger you're waving. Right? Right? I usually do to show them that, excuse me, but
Is that even okay?
to say, what's going on?
But it's almost like a negative smirk to it. You know?
No, if I went like this, that would be bad. That would cause, I would get in big trouble if I.
That'd be confusing.
You're almost like
Knock it off. Fumble, a yarmulke on the ground, get it.
wouldn't it be better just to be like, it's okay?
What?
To give that
I'm kidding. Now you're reading into it.
But that lady is technically
Isn't this
stealing
what
his
we're
time.
supposed
Correct. It is wrong, correct. You
I had
should.
an appointment to get to too. I was a little late. Actually.
Yeah, okay, no. Yeah.
Sorry, I was late yesterday.
Or not here yesterday.
That wasn't why I wasn't.
But the reason you
There
were
were 3
late.
reasons why I wasn't.
No. The reason you were late was because of her. The reason you weren't here is because you were going to get here, but you didn't get here because.
Nice.
The gates are hard to get to the
Too much thumbing. I only have 2, not 3.
Right.
What about embarrassing each other in public? What if it's you and your buddy and you guys just do it as a fun back and forth game?
So I did this once. I was sitting in a restaurant with my best friend who was having a bar mitzvah for his son tomorrow. So we sat in a restaurant and we're eating. And then I jumped up from my seat and I said, "Will you stop touching me?" And he's like, "What are you doing?" Sit down. And I sat down like nothing happened. And he's like, "What are you doing?" It's a great thing to do.
So is that considered inappropriate?
Yes, of course it's
Why?
inappropriate.
What if your buddy doesn't actually care? You just he does it back to you one day, you do it back to him, you guys are having fun. It's you and your buddies.
Are you allowed to have-
embarrassment?
Are you allowed to have fun?
Are you allowed to have fun? On other people's expense?
Really, it is expensive. He kind of likes it.
You know, if there's a guy drinking and you stand behind a glass door and you're like, "Hey, come here," and the guy poof walks into a glass door, everyone's laughing and he's like, right? Because he's drunk. Does that mean that it's okay? No. What?
It's a glass door.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you should have seen that coming.
That should have been the text. Don't put a glass door in front of a blind person.
Yeah.
You can't go on a pleasure at the expense of
If the
others.
blind person's a little bit different.
You shouldn't. It's wrong. It's wrong. But I think what he means here is that we don't embarrass people publicly. Like if you went to the lady and said, "What's the matter with you, lady? Who brought you up this way?" And she's like, "Oh." But in Israel, she would say to you, turn around and says, "Who the hell do you think you are? You're talking to?" And they're like, "Okay, lady. Easy on the garlic." You know?
What about the guy? Can you embarrass him then?
No, you shouldn't embarrass. Why? Why do you have 2 sets of rules?
Because you love
A mensch, you're a mensch. They're created in the image of God also, just like you. So you shouldn't embarrass. Don't
Yeah,
embarrass.
that's the
Jews
problem.
better than
I was
Jews,
positive that she was an Arab, and I was frustrated, especially with all the heat right now, and she cut in front of me, and I was already irritated, so I didn't say anything. But then I was like, when does it end? When is it not revenge and it's justice? Like, you have to wait when you're mad to not do it.
Justice.
Like, she cut in front of me, like I could have.
It's even would be bad if you did the following. Okay, let's say you see her tomorrow, and you're in line. She's in front of you, and you say, she looks at you, and you tell her, I can cut in front of you and do what you did to me yesterday, but I am not like you. That's not allowed either. Because that essentially you are sticking it to her. And you shouldn't. If you let it go, you let it go. It's if it didn't happen. And God runs the world? Really? Is this news flash?
Someone's been paying attention.
What is that noise?
R2D2.
Oh, again.
And just like, I'll just give you an example. My mum was on the plane back from Israel, and she was like one of the first persons to stand up. Because she usually waits for everyone else to get off. This time it was like easy for her to get off. She got off. And there was this woman, she said, like a big cross. She said she must be one of these pro-Palestinian women or whatever.
And knocked her down?
And she was standing like in the middle. And my mum said, "Can I get through?" And she looked at her, she thought for a minute, and she goes, "No." So my mum's got like if someone dies, she can give it, and like she'll lay into it. But she didn't. She was reading a book I gave her, The Garden of Amuna. And
Good for you.
And she's like, you know what, I'm not gonna do it. And she told me, I thought in my head, I really hope this woman's my bag comes out before this woman's on the conveyor. And she said, Mum said the first time in her life, the bag was the first one out.
See?
And then she was waiting for my dad to come pick up from the airport, and she said that woman was still there.
Look at them.
She's waiting for her bag.
You see? Let God get justice. I bet you that girl got her tea, and then as she walked out, somebody bumped into her and poured the tea on her. She was scolded and she was crying, and I hope not. I hope she had.
That was like the opposite of what you said.
That Rabbi, come on. Listen, it'll be all right. Yes?
With gossip, let's say that someone asks you, okay, do you think this person's right for that person? Are you allowed to say a bad word then?
It depends what bad word you're using.
No, as in...
You can just say no.
No, as in, if they're asking you about their personality traits and stuff like that.
If you have something positive to say, you should say it. If you have something negative to say, the question is, what is the appropriate thing to say? But when it comes to talking about, for marriages or business, you have a responsibility to say the truth. But remember, what you perceive may not be the truth. So you have to put it in a way that is responsible. And to say, look, I'm saying this lato'elet. I'm doing this not because of Lashon Hara, because I'm really trying to help. My experience has been like this. And it's possible that I misunderstood or this and that. But here's what, and you have to be careful. But I don't think you should withhold information. Because we have a mitzvah that we want to treat other people the same. We should treat others like we want to be treated. So you have to think in two sides here. One, if it was my daughter, and somebody, I asked somebody, what would I expect the person to say? And if it were my son, or if it were me, what would I want someone to say? Do you know what I mean? So you have to think on both sides of this, and it's a lot of responsibility, but you have to think about it. You can't just say, oh, the guy's a banana. You can't say that.
What about good advice? Like, what if a friend asks you about someone and they're really great, but you don't want to oversell, and then they're more into it than they should be based on their own point of view?
Find the right balance. Everything in moderation. Right, Yosef? I need to give Yosef in the back a little bit of love, because I haven't seen him in a long time. So, yes.
Like what? Back home?
But this is not what I wanted to talk about today. Just so you know, it's fine. It's a free-for-all. Just Sam can't ask any questions because you guys are taking all the time.
So back home, my sister would take a shower and the floor would be all soaked, and I didn't notice, and I would walk in and step with my socks, and my socks would be soaked. So I came to her and I would tell her about that. That's okay, right?
Yes.
Be more considerate of your
Yes.
actions.
But depends what you're. If you're coming in, hey, I don't do this to you. When I take a shower, it's not all wet. What's the matter with you? Well, maybe you should find a better way to express your feelings, right?
Well,
But if you come to this, look, sis, I love you. Could you please, make sure that the floor is not wet because of my socks? Yeah, you should, there's no problem with that. Of course not. Is that okay?
No, I mean.
No, my answer's not okay.
I thought about what I was going to ask.
And then you decided to remove it because it had to do with pistachio ice cream again.
Essentially.
I don't really like pistachio ice cream.
I was gonna ask you
I
about
do.
that.
I love it.
Yeah,
It's very good.
I've never heard of anyone like pistachio.
It's
Yeah.
lovely. I hadn't seen it in years. I only used to
What?
remember when I was little.
Yeah.
Pistachio ice cream.
It's very
I
good.
haven't had
They
it
have
in
pudding.
years and years and years.
Pistachio pudding.
It's very good.
I know I've had it before as a kid. It's very nice. Bit like
Okay.
Cookies and cream. All the
Shavuot. That's an American flavor. Shavuot, taking oaths. People say, I swear. No. That's wrong. Should not do. Should not have the desire to take oaths, to swear. Lying. Lying. We should not lie. How do I look today? Do I look good?
Look bad.
Hold on. When your wife asks you, how do I look in this dress? How are you supposed to respond to that?
You my wife or your wife?
Any wife.
No. It depends on the relationship. I've been married over 15 years. So I could look at my wife and she says, how do I look in the dress? I could say, are we going for the Japanese look? Right? I mean, I get a look and I know that's not what I then, okay, backtrack, but no, I was just kidding, honey, you look amazing. But sometimes you say, going for the Chinese look? And she's like, yeah, it doesn't look good, right? And I'm like, yeah, it just doesn't. So you have to know the person. You shouldn't, the question is this, if you are married to a woman and she wears a dress and it makes her look like Krusty the Clown, okay? And she says, how do I look? And you can't say, honey, you look beautiful. No, that's not fair. But what do you say, honey? Krusty the Clown? Is that the look you're going for? Because the hair and that, right? No, you can't say that. Okay, the question is, and this is a much longer conversation that maybe on a day that there's a trip and we can get into in depth to discuss what is a lie. And Rav Dessler has, have you had enough of Judaism? That's it? You're taking off the tzitzis and the yarmulke and we're done? It's like, forget it. One time I was teaching at the university and this girl came up to me and said to me, do you know that Jesus died for your sins?
It's a really funny
Just
one.
like the best thing to hear.
So I said to her, really? She said, yes. She told me the whole thing and I said, thanks for telling me. I'm out. And she looked at me like, and I said, nah, I know. He was like,
I didn't think that.
yeah, she was like,
They're paying me.
Jesus was a bad Jew.
what?
Jesus was a bad Jew.
Okay. Yeah, but let's not get into that. That's a separate class. But what I wanted to say about truth and lie, not to lie, is really a lie. It depends on what the purpose is. There's a machlekes in the Gemara between Hillel and Shammai. When you go to a wedding, do you have to tell the bride that she's beautiful?
Yeah.
Who said that? But what if she's not? Do you lie?
You shouldn't have married her.
What? Not me. You're a guest.
Oh, no.
You're a guest and you walk up.
It sounds bad.
What?
Is that appropriate to tell the bride that she's beautiful?
There is that to Samech.
That's not a lie. 'Cause somebody she's beautiful. Contrast is everything. If she has
Yeah, right. If you walk,
That's
Why
a
would I go
BS
to someone-
answer.
if you walked up there and said to her, "You look so interesting," not big. So the machloket really is That Shammai says you do not change, because of circumstance, we do not change what you say. You always tell the truth. But Hillel says, no. The truth is what causes the greatest good. And you should not cause, if a woman on her wedding day, the point is not to make her cry. Like you walk up there and say, you're wearing white? You know, right? You can't say that. You white? Like,
It took me a moment to process.
Dress choice.
what? It's not. The point is that you should not cause. So if your wife asks you, how beautiful, do I look beautiful in this? The answer is, should you cause her to, she believes that if you see it, you could tell when the person, when she asks, what does she want? Does she want the truth? Or she wants, or that she really wants to hear you give her a compliment?
Because I wow, you put your beautiful dress in.
I would say the following.
Beauty's on the inside.
Your beauty has nothing to do with a dress. So we talked about Devar Sheker, of lying. The last category that we should have as much as complete nikiyut as possible is the category of desecration of God's name. Chilul Hashem, nikiyut, cleanliness, where you remove the desire to sin. Nikiyut. Okay? So I want to just mention a couple of things about this. Chilul Hashem. He says that you have to look the way you live your life, and you have to be very, very careful that all your actions, that people look at you, see you as a good and righteous and upright person. That is the aspect of that, what he's talking about. When your behavior outside, right? If they know that you're from Or Sameach, you are essentially, when you wear a kippah and you're saying I'm religious, your behavior is that you're a person that is following God. And people are looking at you. And so when you let the girl go in front of you, that's nice. It's very nice. It's good. If you yelled at her, that's Chilul Hashem. That's desecrating God's name. Okay. He then talks about making sure that we observe Shabbat and Yom Tov to a higher degree without the desire to sin during Shabbat and Yom Tov. I don't want to speak too much into that. And we should, the next category, which I don't want to start today because it's very, very complicated, so we'll do something else, is to get to a level of nikiyut, purification, of our moral behavior, in controlling four things: the desire to be arrogant, the desire to be angry, to get angry. I want to do them in order. The desire to be jealous, and the desire for taivas, that you have a desire that you want something that you shouldn't. That is sort of all-inclusive. Okay? Those are the four moral virtues that we should remove all desires. We should not want to have a desire to be angry. We should not have the desire, or we should not have jealousy. Yeah?
Can you explain desire? Because I feel like all of us would agree that we don't want to be jealous. Like, it's more of an inclination to be jealous. Or
Fine. So that's a good, that's very good. I like that. That's very good. Correct. But the desire, what do I mean by that? It means that you have a feeling that you're having this feeling of jealousy. And he's saying you should remove that completely. Not to be jealous.
I mean,
Not to get angry.
If you get rid of the desire, you cut the jealousy off the legs, kind of. You're jealous over what? Somebody as a girl, you don't have her. If you don't desire her, you're not going to be jealous.
No,
But
the way he phrased it, that's the one thing I needed clarification on.
Yeah, he's right. It's a much better, much more precise when we come to those four. Ga'ava, arrogance. I was going to give an example, but that would be bad, right? give an example of arrogance. Because
I never know.
okay. When we talk about lying, sheker, there are different levels. There are different types of lying. It's not only one category. And he says the following. There are those who lie, and they lie completely. They make up everything that they're saying. Nothing is true. Nothing. Why? Why do they do it? Because they like to be the center of attention, and because they want people to think of them as wise, and that they know a lot of things. So they make it up. Wannabe know-it-alls. They make stuff up. Sometimes people I talk to, they argue, and I have to explain to them, listen, in this conversation, there's room only for one know-it-all, and it's me, not you. Because you don't know it all. I do. And then I have to prove it to them. So I have to make up stuff. I'm kidding. When when you're a professor, you learn how to answer authoritatively questions that you have no idea how to answer. But you know how to formulate an answer that sounds like very important. I had a, what?
So it's good to know when I come back to college.
Yeah,
Only the good ones. Some just can't do it.
I had a professor in Bible at NYU, and he was telling me that he wrote an article for an encyclopedia on whatever, I don't remember what the topic was. And it was a German encyclopedia. They took his English article, translated it into German, and they sent him the German so he can review, because he knew German, but he was much more comfortable writing in English. And he read the German, and he said to me, I read this thing, it was so convincing that I almost started to believe it. That is, and things in German really sound, very. So you have to be very careful with encyclopedia articles. That's the point. Are you raising your hand? Tell the truth. Don't be afraid. Okay. Do you want to say something, Aaron?
No.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. How am I doing, though?
Very good.
Because I need some compliment. These guys don't give me enough. Eliasaf, who usually sits here, gives me sort of an idea of how I'm doing. Okay. So that's one category. And then there are people who tell a story, and the story is half true, half false. Right? That's also a problem you shouldn't do. Now you're looking at me like, yeah? How could you say that with a straight face? Me? What? There is an out for educational purposes. There is. But that's for a separate discussion. So there are people who add these things, and what happens is it becomes habitual. And what becomes habitual, the person who does it loses track of what is reality and what is fantasy. And it becomes very, very problematic for his audience. Because he has created his own world. Because of his habit of talking about different things, he has mixed all sorts of components. Okay, let's stop here.